riding down Highway 61. Sides of the roads all lined with fields, nothing but sunset in the windshield. Feel it as soon as I ride into town. This is where I go to slow down. Miles and miles of soybeans and corn. I'm in the place where the blues was born. About a mile from the big muddy river, place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my worries drift away from being out in the sun all day. No matter where in the world I go, I'll always find home on the banks of that oxbow.
What's up, guys? Brad Chappell back with you. We're at the Grizzly Jig Show, Spring Show in Crothersville, Missouri. I got two buddies of mine with me. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and I'm going to give you the topic I get asked all the time, and I know both these guys get asked the same question, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Mark Ridl from Cornfield Fishing Gear.
John Harrison from Louisiana, North Louisiana.
Absolutely. And, you know, I get this question asked a lot, and I know, like I said, both these guys get this question asked, but we want to talk about mounting your Livescope transducer or live sonar transducer versus on the trolling motor or on a independent mount. And we want to talk about some of the differences. And I know you make both of those.
Yeah, we can do it any way you want to do it.
I like that kind of, you know, Mark, in the beginning, way before the crappie connection, I called him and said, hey, man, I want to run two graphs on my boat, one side scanning on the left side, one on the right side. And, you know, all of a sudden, I've got one from Mark, and he made it up for me. But how long you been building mounts and such?
This is my 8th year here, and we're probably a year or so ahead of that. When I was still in Illinois, we was playing with it a little bit, and then we moved to Kentucky. It's been 6 years we moved down there.
What gave you the idea I want to start making some fishing products?
I went to Kentucky Lake and fished a little thing with the crappie.com.
Yeah, I remember that.
And fished with some friends, and then I hadn't had a boat in years. I've been working so much I didn't fish much. But like I said, we didn't have a little lake and some strip mines up there to fish, so we had little flat bottom John boats. After going to Kentucky Lake, I wanted a boat, so I bought an aluminum tracker boat, and there wasn't anything.
Wasn't anything out there with it? You couldn't figure out?
No. So, being as I got a machine shop,
Kind of
made what we needed.
Started thinking all these guys like me call you up and say, hey, man, I need this particular product.
Yeah, and that's outgrew it. You know, Dean wanted something, this guy wanted something, that guy wanted something, and then we made us one of them their websites.
One of them their websites.
Yeah, ask him how he got the name, Cornfield.
Yeah.
We talked about that. I was in East Central Illinois. I grew up in Rossville, Illinois. We lived 5 miles north of that, Hoopston, Illinois. Flatter than this table. Nothing but cornfields for as far as you could see. And I was texting with my buddy Dean and Terry Poole from Kentucky Lake. We were going to make a few things, and needed a name for the website, but we didn't know what to call it. And I said, heck, I don't know. They're texting stuff back and forth. We're like, no, I didn't. I said, I don't know. I'm in the middle of cornfields trying to make crappie gear. So we're like, oh, Cornfield crappie gear. And then we found out that there's other species of fish that wouldn't buy something that says crappie on it. So we kind of renamed it Cornfield Fishing Gear here a couple, 3 years ago. So it's still the same stuff, still the same people.
You know, and the subject line, like I said, we're talking about, a lot of guys are wanting to know, do I need to mount it on a independent pole, or do I need to mount it on the transducer on the shaft of the trolling motor? And Mark, you can start off and kind of tell us what's the main differences of mounting on each one of those.
When people call into the shop and they're calling our customer service line and they're asking questions on what they want to do, our first question is, what's your style of fishing?
Yeah.
Are you casting to them? Are you chasing fish in open water? Are you fishing over a brush pile? What are you doing? And then they'll pick what one they do the most of, and then we ask, what trolling motor do you have? Most of the guys that are fishing a brush pile or logs or whatever are going to use spot lock. So if you're in spot lock and you're you know what that motor does, it's turning to keep that boat pretty much in that GPS coordinates that you told it to stay at. So as that motor's turning right and left to hold that boat, then
the screen's going everywhere.
Yeah, if you got it mounted on the trolling motor shaft, it's sweeping back and forth. So you're like, there it is. You know, you can't really stay on it. And if you want to see your jig and your baits and all this and that, and if it's swinging back and forth, you can't see it. So if that's the style they want to fish, then we can either put them on the live sweep, that's the remote control, and they can hit a button and steer it. We can put it on the trolling motor, but as the trolling motor's doing its thing to hold you in position, you can steer it independently. Well, then we decided to make a hand-operated one. Some guys wanted just to have a hand pole where they can, same thing, trolling motor's on, spot lock, and they can hand control it and tune it in on that brush pile. And then last year we designed one that you turn a knob and it turns the transducer that way.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like this joker over here that can run a trolling motor, I can't run a trolling motor. I'm here to tell you right now, I can't run a trolling motor. So I can't fish and run a trolling motor at the same time. I mean, I can't do it. So
you're not very good at jump roping?
No, I can't do that. So that's why I decided to go this direction for me, and we've turned it into these things, and some guys like it that way. Now I fished with him before, and when he's on a fish, it never leaves the center of the screen to the unit. But that fish might be over here, or if I cast and miss it, and he's like, oh, it's over here. And he's not even looking at his foot or looking at nothing. He just knows where it's at. Now, the guys that are really good in the tournaments that are chasing them, you kind of need to have it on the trolling motor, my opinion. Don't you think, John? I mean, you've done everything.
I mean, it all depends on how you look at it. I mean, there's tournament fishermen out there that do have it on pole still, but the majority's got it on the trolling motor. Most of the time we're running 2 transducers on the trolling motor, but I've been asked that question probably 3 times this morning out there on the floor, and what I try to tell them is, first, what's your style of fishing? Are you predominantly fishing stake beds, brush piles, that type of fishing, or are you out chasing open water, roaming crappie? Because it makes a difference. If you're going to pull up to a stake bed and you have a trolling motor that has spotlight, which most people do nowadays, you can point that boat into the wind and put that brush pile, that stake bed on your right or your left, whichever way you want it, and you can hit spot lock. Then you can take that hand control and just turn that transducer to the brush pile and keep it on it. Watch the jig the whole time. Now, another advantage with like the cable drive system you got or the hand control system, bass fishing. You take a guy going down a grass line, bass fishing. He can point that thing. He can go straight with his trolling motor, but he can point that thing at an angle going down that grass line, and he can cover a lot of water like that he needs to be seeing that he normally wouldn't see with his foot without having to turn that trolling motor every time. So
we've actually just been working on a new, smaller setup on the over-the-side mount and the hand scope and everything for one of the guys that we work with in the bass series, and he's going to have it where he's sitting in the driver's seat. Yeah. And as he's idling along, he's going to be able. He's got 2 live scopes, one on the trolling motor and one on there, so he can search. And then when he sees what he wants to go to, he can get on the trolling motor, and then he's going to find that fish.
Yeah.
But bass guy, if he's trolling along, like you said, a grass line or along a bank or something, if he's got it on the trolling motor has to be pointing the direction he's going. Yeah. He can't look out to the side, so there the hand scope's working for him.
It's kind of like you think of the terminology, and I refer back to even side scanning. I wanted people to think of spotlight and using a spotlight, and that's kind of what you're doing with that technique would be using almost like a spotlight in the dark night, and you're driving down the road, but you're able to, look out to the side with the hand control. Right. Or even, the foot control when you produce as well.
Anything that you can steer independently so that you're not depending on the trolling motor. But if you're going to do like what John's doing in a tournament, chasing them, it needs to be on the trolling motor. So it boils down to what your style of fishing.
For me, and I think I've got 15-foot talons, and I've got mine now mounted, and it's been mounted on my shaft of my trolling motor. But I know there's a lot of days that, I could actually use one mounted on the side because I can mount, sit down my talons, sit down in place, and sit there and actually be a little bit easier than because I usually have 2 people up front casting or different things to those stake beds and brush piles and such. But a hand control would be really deadly as well with talons in the back. I mean, it just
You can lock the boat down
lock
with
that
those.
boat down and just.
Not only, just far as fishing like that, but if you're a spider rigger and you're moving, you're a power troller, you're moving constantly. Say you're a spider rig and you're running double minnow rigs, and you want to look at your rigs. Well, if you're trolling and you try to look, you're coming off that trolling motor, right? I mean, you're turning it. You can take that hand control and you can look at all 8 of your rigs on the front of that boat and never get off. The trolling motor's still going. I mean, it's got its advantage. You just have to use it to your style of fishing. It's all on what everybody wants, in their style. Most of all your tournament fishermen, though, going to have them on trolling motors.
And the reason behind that is because they're really searching out independent
Single fish,
lone fish, not really a piece of structure necessarily. They're looking for those lone wolves, as we've said before on here.
I call it hunting.
You're hunting, yeah,
They're
absolutely.
hunting. They're not fishing, they're hunting.
I tell a lot of people when they get in the boat with me of like, we're actually going hunting this morning. They're like, what in the world are you talking about? I'm like, all right, I'm setting this screen out to about 80 to 100 foot, and I'm looking for blips, and then we're going to hunt down that blip until you can put that jig in its face. And they're like, this sounds crazy.
I go fishing hoping I'm going to be catching.
Yeah,
Those guys are hunting knowing they're catching.
absolutely. That's part of the fun too, though, is just it's changed so much with this live sonar and different mounts that you can really do so many different things than years before. But whoever thought about we were going to go hunting for crappie compared to fishing for crappie? And
right, you always just went back to the same spot that you knew this time of year the fish should be in this area, and you went back, and whether you're trolling or single poling brush piles. Now you pull up that brush pile and you look at it. Okay, they're not here. Let's go on. Let's go look at another brush pile, and till you pull up on one that's loaded with them. I mean, it's changed the game. But if look at where we're at now, just think of where it's going to be 10 years from now.
Oh, that's scary. Mark, tell us about the different mounts that you're offering as far as the pole. And that way somebody's sitting here listening and says, well, that sounds like that one's going to fit me.
So we have what we call an over-the-side mount. So that's a bracket that you can mount on the deck, and then it comes up and it goes over, and then we can put our hand pole in that. And all that folds up, spins around, so you can get it in and out of the boat or move it. I got it where it breaks down. You can put it into a rod locker when you're not using it and all that. But that way you can put it not on the trolling motor, but mounted to the deck, and then you can just got a handle that comes out. We got an arrow machined in it, and you steer this, and wherever the arrow's pointing, you obviously have your transducer lined up with that, so you can adjust it. When you see those fish on your screen, you stop, and then you look at the arrow and you cast to that, or you jig that direction. And then the other one that we done is a cable driven unit, and the reason for that was I couldn't really put the hand scope one on the trolling motor, because now you're reaching to the front of the boat over your units and everything, and there's some guys that's got some long handles and all that, and they work, but then you got that to deal with on top of your units and everything. I thought was too much, so I fooled around. It's been a couple years, and the funny thing about it was the guy just stopped by my booth earlier. I met a guy here that turned me on to. I had everything figured out, pretty much the idea, but I couldn't come up with the cable. And I tried every clutch cable, throttle cable, brake cable, everything, and nothing worked the way I wanted it to work. And this guy hooked me up with a company. We have these special made for this cable. So now we can put a knob next to your graph. So we got a knob that mounts onto your gimbal. So you got your graph here, you got a knob right here, so you can steer it in and see it. And when you get that stake bed or brush pile or whatever right in the center of that beam, it's like a light comes on. Mm-hmm. So that boat's sitting there in spot lock doing its thing, and you can just barely turn this knob and get it right on there. And then we have a green arrow on the end of that, and you just cast your jig in front of that. I can put the cable steer on pretty much all the trolling motors except for obviously the Tarot and the Altera. They're their own cat. We can't put them on there. Or we can put it in over the side mount. That one will go both directions.
Okay.
So it just gives you the hand operated. Then we have the old our original product when they first come out with Livescope. It's the coiled black hose and the clamps and everything to put it on the trolling motor, and we can put that on the Altera and the Tarobas and the XI5s and all that kind of stuff. We can put that on any trolling motor to protect your cable, but it steers with the trolling motor. So whenever you turn it.
And what trolling motors does that actually work with?
It works. We can do that on any of them.
On any of them,
But
okay.
the ones that's really the key is the XI5 from Motor Guide and the Tarova and the Altera, because you can't tie anything to the shaft on those. So this was its independent. It worked like the coiled power wire that goes into it. That's the same concept. So it turns and lets the motor turn around and all that, but it keeps your cable safe so you can't cut it. Again, me being,
I've seen that happen.
I'd done it twice.
Twice.
But thank goodness it was back in the day when I was just running down image, and the transducer was only $150. now they're what, $1,500 or something like that.
It hurts a little bit more
you
now,
don't
for
want to
sure.
cut that one. So I cut a dang thing 2 times and thought, man, I got to come up with something better than this. So then we did, and then when Livescope come on, we just kind of had to re-engineer it, make it a little bit bigger because the cable was bigger and all that, and it's been really good for us. But that's our way of putting it on the trolling motor. But like John said, it really boils down to how are you fishing and what are you going to do.
There's a mount at Cornfield to fit your style.
Yeah.
I don't care, from mounting your graph to your transducer. Mark's got a mount for every style out there.
Yeah, when we got into the game and we started getting into more and more and more, I knew that what I wanted to do was be able to do everything. I didn't want to be a graph mount or a Livescope mount or something. We want to do it all. We're a one-stop shop.
I think crappie fishermen, I know my boat, and people look at it and they're like, what is that for? What is this thing? Well, everything on the boat has a particular purpose.
Right.
It has a particular job, and I know from, like you said, the graph mounts to running double units at your console to, and I'm sure you do it as well, but I'm running double units up front of the boat.
Yeah.
And the reason is I've got my mapping, my lake maps right there in front of me, my waypoints, but also I have the full advantage of using your 12 or whatever screen that you're
I'm
using.
running a 16 just for the scope, and then I'm running, I got my mapping, and I have one of my transducers sideways, and I have it in perspective mode. You're taking somewhere like Darbone, where it's a stump field basically. You can see targets coming up that you might want to look at ahead of time before they get there. That thing goes 160 degrees, and you can set your distance out. The only thing is it's turning that 20-degree angle cone sideways. So as long as you're in around 17 foot of water or so or less, you can see fine from the surface to there. But if you start getting over 17 foot, you can't see the bottom. But that perspective mode in certain places helps out a lot. You can see what's coming up ahead of you. And really, like trolling would be a good deal.
Spider rigging, that would be awesome.
It's sort of like a 360, but it's live.
I haven't used it a lot. I guess I should more.
It's a little learning curve to it, understanding what you're looking at. But once you figure it out, oh yeah, you can see them.
Any particular mounts as far as putting it on your trolling motor shaft, or is it just really depends on the deposit?
It depends upon the model of the trolling motor. It's the same mount. It's just that each trolling motor, for some reason, none's the same.
Yeah.
So we got
Chevy and Ford.
Yeah, we got everything. We got everything you can. And now everybody's come out with 2 new trolling motors. So guess what? We got to redo a bunch of stuff.
So you're back in the
we're
drawing board there.
Yeah, we're back to redoing power poles, trolling motor. The Quest, the shaft's different on that. All of them. We're redoing a bunch of stuff.
I know you got another big event coming up this springtime. Tell us about the event that you're having as well.
April 11th, 12th, and 13th, we're going to have the first ever Cornfield demo days. So basically, we want customers or friends and everybody to bring their boat. We're going to have product there. You're going to be able to sit in your boat, and we're going to be able to test fit if this mount's tall enough or you want it over here, however you want it. And all of our products, you'll be able to look at them and feel them and see what you want to fit your boat. I'm going to have some riggers there that we work with, and you can talk to them on how they've rigged a boat similar to yours with that product. And I ask them to bring cards and hand out their cards, and if somebody wants them to do it, schedule an appointment with them, and they'll fix you up. I got the pro staff guys coming, John, and everybody's coming. I mean, I need a list of who's all coming. It's crazy who's coming. I mean, anybody and everybody.
I think his cat's coming.
Yeah,
I'm planning on it.
He's going to be there. We got Russ Bailey, Kirby Ham, Jeremy Mattingly, Matt Viano, anybody. Oh, and Whitey's coming now. He's bringing his.
What about that old guy with a beard?
Oh, yeah,
the
duck shooting dude. What's his name anyway?
I don't remember, but I think he's going to be there.
Yeah, he's going to be there. Sea Arc's coming, bringing a bunch of boats. We got a bunch of guys in Sea Arc boats. B&M's coming. Crappie Magnet's coming. Easy Drift's coming.
It's going to be a good time. All the pro staff are going to be there.
You can go there if you haven't decided yet, and you're thinking about, hey, I don't want to make the mistake of buying the wrong mount. They can schedule their time to come in and even touch them, feel them, and play with them.
Well, that's all the pro staff guys are going to be there with their boats in the water at the dock. You can actually step over in their boats and see how they have their boat set up.
So our first idea was going to have the pro staff guys take people out on the lake and show them how stuff works. And I thought, you know what, that's really dumb, because if you put those guys out on water fishing, they ain't coming back.
You got that right.
So I'm pulling the keys on all the boats. See, we're going to put them on a covered dock, and everybody's going to be able to walk down there and touch and feel it. And talk to John, why are you doing it like this? Go talk to Godwin, why are you doing it like that? Go talk, and see different boat stuff. We're going to have all kinds. It's not just going to be Sea Arc boats. We're going to have all kinds of boats there. But Sea Arcs, we're working pretty close with them, and they're going to bring a bunch of stuff. We're going to have catfish guys coming. Andrew Norby, have you heard of him?
Bass guy.
No. I'll be honest.
I want you to talk to Andrew.
I don't really.
You need to talk to Andrew. Andrew's really, really nice young man. He's fishing his second year of the MLF. He's worked his way up to where he gets to go fish that. He does a YouTube thing called Fishing with Norby. He's got a really good following. He's a really good dude, but he's a heck of a crappie fishing guy too. The only problem with Norby is he's fishing the MLF tournament, which is the following weekend, and he can't be on the water. He's going to have his boat there. He's going to talk to people. People that watch Norby's thing, they can come out and talk to him. He's going to be there. But yeah, and you need to talk to him, because he does a lot of crappie fishing. He's a pretty good dude.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can twist him over to the
and we're
real
gonna
side.
We're going to have everybody set up doing podcasts. We're going to have you come and get as many as you can.
There'll be seminars going on
we
the whole
got
time
seminars,
too.
And John and I and I can't remember, a couple of us at the shop was thinking, kicking this around. We thought, man, we go to all these shows and all this and that. Why don't we do our own thing? Try it out, and it's insane. It's gotten so far. I'm not going to say out of hand, but it's got way bigger and more going on than I thought we was going to do. And everybody we talk to is excited about coming to it. And we've been pitching it at the shows we've been going to. We got a lot of people that's going to get a cabin. You can go to Moore's and rent a cabin for the weekend. Everything's going to be right there.
Where can you find more information if they're looking right now and they're listening?
We're putting more stuff out on all of our social media outlets.
So Facebook, look up Cornfield Fishing Gear.
We're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok and all that stuff.
You look like a TikToker.
I like watching video. I don't put anything on there. I just watch stuff. But it's on all of it. I got people for that.
You got folks. I got you. I understand.
Well,
you also got great products, and I definitely appreciate from all the support for the Crappie Connection. Guys, I'm telling you, you want us to grow, it's by sponsors like Cornfield Fishing Gear. It helps us do these events like we're doing right now and going to these different things and talking to everybody. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's hear some comments from Mark. Comment if you got any ideas that you think he needs to come up with. I already hit him up with it already.
Trust me, he gets hit up a lot. So
Yeah.
feel free
When
to
I
hit
was
him up.
walking in the door, I even told Hunter on the way up today, I was like, don't let me forget to get with Mark when I get there.
Yeah,
so I'm ready to kind of
You would talk to Will, I guess.
Yeah.
Will comes out, all right, Chapel's got an idea. I'm like,
oh, yeah. Maybe by then I'll have it and show you guys.
We had a guy come in today that I've talked to several times. That's a customer, and he brought me a whole pile of stuff. Ben, I need you to make something like this.
Yeah.
Good night. There we go.
That's part. That's part of the fun.
That's how we get a lot of. Well, I met a guy last weekend that I talked on the phone. I don't know how many times, and he literally gave me the idea for the folding mount. Mm-hmm. And he says, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I'm like, "Man, that kills me because I'm terrible with names, and I didn't remember the face either." And I'm going on and on and on. And finally, piece by piece, he was leading me into who it was. I'm like, man, I remember talking to you. I talked to him so many times. He goes, let me see that thing. And, he was just a super good guy. He said, I just had this idea. I couldn't do it, but I knew you could. And it turned into one of our biggest safety things,
One of the best mounts out there.
Well, guys, make sure you check them out. You got Brad Chappell here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Follow this dude here. Where can they find you there?
Any social media. John Harrison Fishing. Any of the social media.
He got some funny TikToks and stuff going on.
Any social media platform.
He's out there. Definitely appreciate you guys. Hit that like, subscribe. Till next time, Brad Chappell. Holla.
Thank you.
Awesome.
About a mile from the big muddy river, a place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can